Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. If this episode sounds different, that's because for this episode, I'm actually doing something that I have not done before for when I make videos or whatever. I am doing this thing called compression. Now, I really don't know the full ins and outs about audio compression. I never really felt the need to do it. But I remember hearing something where it's like, here's audio when it's not compressed, and here's audio when it's compressed, and they made it sound like way better. It's like, and I'm just going with the default compression on this, just because I again don't know anything about compression. But I'm putting it this way because I decided to test out a future, because I recorded an episode that is going to be released later, and I decided to test out the compression on that. So just let me know. Let me know in this episode if you like the way this sounds, then I guess I can keep doing the default compression. If you're like, no, this is cringe and I hate it, then don't worry, I don't have to do it. And you'll just have to suffer through it for one episode. It's not the next main series video that's going to be released this Thursday. It will be the one that is the first one of the next month. The first video of September will be the one that is compressed. Also, I guess I can tease this concept, because it's coming up, and I guess I should talk about it more when it comes out, but like, I do have an idea, and it's a stupid project idea I have, and it's one that I, again, have already just decided to go ahead and do, even though it's stupid. But in September, starting on the 6th, I believe, I decided to do, it's gonna be, but what it's going to be for you guys, it's going to be clutter. So basically, it will be every day, starting on September 6th, I will be releasing a poll. And the poll is going to be the top 4 vote getters in every single presidential election, from the first election up to the election that will happen. Like, it's supposed to be like a lead up to the presidential election. Like the last one is supposed to be, like, on election day, it's supposed to be like, and on this day, who will you be voting for in this upcoming election? I know that is a very stupid idea, and it's going to be clutter for all of you guys, but I don't care. I just thought it'd be interesting. Maybe I will do something with it, because I did briefly think about, like, it, because it just did briefly remind me of an idea that I saw on a YouTube video where it was like, somebody said, like, I asked my subscribers who they would vote for in every single presidential election, and then they made it like total maps based off of it. But I don't really give a shit about like that. Maybe I will like do like here are the people who would have won if my subscribers got to vote or whatever. But really, it doesn't really matter. I'm just doing it for fun, shits and giggles. Also, I should say one more thing about housekeeping. I have absolutely no clue what the next podcast is going to be. I genuinely am, like, strammed for ideas, or stuck for ideas. I have genuinely no clue. This one, I didn't even plan for this one to come out. This one was actually one I wrote way a while ago, but I just basically kept delaying it because of certain things. I have absolutely no clue what the next podcast is going to be about. I can't think of any of my problems with episodes that I really want to do. I'm still kind of spent about that potential Alan Lichtman episode. I don't know. No new political quizzes have come to my mind. I don't know. Let me know. Suggestions. Give me suggestions, guys. I'm spent. I have no ideas. Especially if it's a political quiz. That will be very useful. If it's a political quiz that I have not done, then genuinely give it to me. I'll do it. I don't care. Speaking of not caring, let's get right into the news. First, we're going to be talking about Guatemala, because apparently things are still going on in Guatemala. Apparently, Guatemalan prosecutors keep requesting to remove Bernardo Arévalo's presidential immunity status. Guatemalan prosecutors on Wednesday filed a request to strip President Bernardo Arévalo of the criminal immunity granted to his role so he can face charges for alleged abuse of authority, the latest twist in an ongoing face-off between the two sides. This is the third request lodged against Arévalo in the year since he was elected after running on an anti-graft campaign. all have come from the Special Prosecutor's Office Against Impunity, which first sought to prevent Arevalo from taking office, and have worked to force him to abandon it. And, listen to this, it gets bigger. The prosecutor leading the charge against him, Rafael Curuchiche, is on the U.S. State Department's Engel list of corrupt and undemocratic actors and has been sanctioned by more than 40 countries. Curuchiche said on Wednesday that Arevalo needed to answer allegations that he gave illegal instructions to his former communications minister, Jasmine de la Vega, about payments to construction companies hired by the previous administration. So basically, right-wing Guatemalan guy wants to do... basically, to an extent, I think this seems to be very similar to the, Lula situation, where it's like, oh, there might have been potentially something that might tertiarily connect this guy with this guy. Ergo, this person should not be allowed to be in the office, period. Yeah, there's not much else I could say about that, except I hope that this doesn't go through and that Arevalo gets to remain in power. This is so stupid. This guy is so weird, because apparently I did some, research. I looked into him. It's apparently he literally is going so far as to claim the OAS trying to make sure that Guatemala did, elect an actual democratic government. That was them overreaching and trying to stop the democracy of the nation. It's bruh, Guatemalan democracy is fucking stupid, because, remember, in the election, they overwhelmingly, opposed... This guy's so stupid. The claim of, Guatemalan democracy is stupid. 5 candidates were kicked off the ballot in that election. All for completely bullshit reasons. There were going to be other candidates that were kicked off, If I remember correctly, Arevalo, Villacorta, fucking, Sandra Torres, and Zuri Rios, all of them could have possibly also gotten kicked off the ballot. Because the fact of the matter was, the situation in Guatemala was just crazy. But anyways, not much else I can say. Viva Guatemala. Hopefully Bernardo Arevalo gets to actually do good things in the administration. Speaking of administrations and good things, we're going to talk about the exact opposite, because Donald Trump committed another fucking crime. And not just that, according to, if this is true, the crime he committed is literal treason against the United States federal government. Now, what did he do? What did he do to get such a bold thing? Well, aside from that whole fucking insurrection thing, he has, allegedly, according to a PBS newscaster, what happened was they were talking about how Donald Trump was reportedly on a phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu, where Donald Trump was actively encouraging Netanyahu to reject any deal with Kamala Harris, with the intention of having that issue not be solved in this administration, so that it would hurt Kamala and benefit him, which is in clear, no uncertain terms, a violation of the Logan Act, which states as follows: any citizen of the United States, wherever he may be, who without authority of the United States directly or indirectly commences or carries on a correspondence or intercourse with any foreign government or any officer or agent thereof, with intents to influence the measures or conduct of any foreign government or of any officer or agent thereof, in relation to any disputes or controversy with the United States, or to defeat the measures of the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. Quite literally, Donald Trump is allegedly in violation of the Logan Act, because he's literally trying to get the foreign government of Israel to do things that go against the United States' interests in Israel, i.e. a potential ceasefire. Now, Donald Trump and Israel have, Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu have denied that this phone call has happened, which has led to this PBS reporter to say, oh, you see, they denied it, so I apologize for making false information. It's man, with all due respect, that is 100% not false, and that is very consistent with both what Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu have done up to this point. Remember, Donald Trump this year literally told Republicans to not vote for Joe Biden's immigration bill because he didn't want the immigration problem solved in this term, because he wants to be the one to allegedly solve it. He doesn't want Biden a victory. He literally just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing about Trump and all the fucking other Republicans. They don't give a fuck about any of the issues they actually claim to care about. They don't. They literally do not. And hopefully, this video can explain why in the other subject. But the fact of the matter is, they don't care. Trump does not give a fuck about what you want. If you are a normal random conservative anywhere in the audience or anywhere in the world, Donald Trump does not give a fuck about you at all, or whatever issues you claim to give a shit about. He does not. All he wants is his victory. He wants a W. And ultimately, whatever he needs to do to get that, he will. Which is why he's openly aligned with foreign governments all around the world in order to try and get his interests met. And this idea, like, oh, well, that goes against what they... Like, no. Donald Trump has met with Netanyahu multiple times in this campaign alone. If I remember correctly, Netanyahu endorsed Trump's re-election bid in 2020. Netanyahu and Trump are allies. They are friends because they are both far-right fascist idiots who ultimately just want to end an oppressed group. Why do you think the fucking fascists in Israel's government are endorsing Trump right now? They are endorsing Trump because they do not want Kamala to win. Because they know if Kamala wins, then there's going to be a form of ceasefire. It will not be the best ceasefire ever. I know it won't be. It will hurt what Israel's government wants. Israel's government wants Trump because under the Trump administration previously, they got... I forget the exact thing, but like, there was like a map, and it was like, oh yeah, we literally get the Golan Heights, and then like, oh yeah, we got Jerusalem. Like, Trump signed off on that. Things that were too crazy for even past administrations. Like, when Trump got in, he's just like, yeah, I'll do it, who cares? Because he is a shill. But you're gonna sit here and claim like, oh, like, the Democrats, they're the ones who are the real Zionists. It's like, fuck off. Like, I mean, yes, I know. Both Democrats and Republican parties have alignments with Zionism and, like, the, like, AIPAC and stuff. But, like, if you objectively can't understand the fact that the Republicans are way more aligned with Zionism and, like, the Israeli government and AIPAC than Democrats, then that's just a sad thing. Think about it. How many primaries did AIPAC have to spend for the Democrats? They had to spend a lot of money in a lot of different primaries. They had to buy Raquel Tehran's seat. They had to buy Jamal Bowman's seat. They had to buy Cory Bush's seat. They had to buy fucking, like, Harry Dunn's seat. They were literally spending money against David Min because David Min was literally just tepidly critical of Benjamin Netanyahu. Literally, he was pro-Israel. He believed Israel had the right to exist. But he also just said, hey, I think we should be critical of Benjamin Netanyahu. Like, ooh, sorry, buddy. We can't, like, afford you to be, like, that crazy anti-Zionist, dude. That's a little bit far off there. I think they literally spent a ton of money in Alabama because there was one candidate that literally tried to claim that AIPAC endorsed him, and then they just spent a lot of money to endorse someone else. Yeah, but refresh my memory. How many seats did AIPAC have to buy, like, to get, like Republicans to step in line? How many? Well, that's right. They didn't have to spend money on any of them. They spent money on, like, one race in total, and that was because Thomas Massie was slightly critical of Israel as well, because he has, like, a far-right isolationism streak. So, yeah, that's basically... And they didn't even win that one. I guarantee you that's because they didn't have to spend a lot of time and effort and money in that race, because I'm pretty sure... Because Massie himself has stated, like, he's a Zionist. He loves Israel, but he just doesn't vote for, like, certain bills because he's afraid of, like, you know, spending money because, you know, he's an isolationist libertarian, like, guy. Like, just think about it. Like, if you're like super anti-Israel and you're like a super pro-Palestinian activist, remember, Israel wants Trump to win. Keep that in mind. That's how I know that's gonna keep my energy up when I have to vote for Kamala. Speaking of our next glorious leader, Kamala Harris, a GOP group is actually making the bold claim that Kamala Harris is in fact ineligible to become president of the United States, arguing that Supreme Court cases state that she is in fact ineligible. And I'm not even kidding. They use the Dred Scott case to justify that she is not eligible to be president. with them making the claim that, you know how the Constitution works, right? The Constitution says that the people who are eligible to be president are natural-born U.S. citizens. Only they are allowed to be United States presidents. Now, what does that mean? Well, most people generally understand that a natural-born U.S. citizen has to be a person who is born in the United States. Or the exception can be if one or both parents are a natural-born citizen of the United States, but are living overseas. You know, for example, I was born in the United States, I would be eligible to be president of the United States. However, Ted Cruz was born in Canada. He was not born in the United States. But one or both of his parents were a United States citizen at the time of his birth. If I remember correctly, if it's only one, I think it's his mother. His mother was a United States citizen and his father wasn't. I don't remember. It was one of the two. But either way, one of his parents was a natural-born U.S. citizen. And they were born in Canada, but it was a military base in Canada that was U.S. property. Ergo, it counted. However, they make the claim, this conservative group, which isn't like a fringe conservative group. This is a conservative group that had Reagan as a member. This conservative group makes the claim that a natural-born citizen is a person born on American soil of parents who are both citizens of the United States at the time of the child's birth. A statement that very obviously would disqualify literally a lot of U.S. presidents. Many people pointing out the fact that under this sentiment, George Washington would not be a natural-born citizen of the United States, which is a fact. He is not a natural-born citizen of the United States. He was born in a British colony to British parents. But remember, the Dred Scott case has nothing to do with the fact that British people. The Dred Scott case, for those who don't know, it literally said that African Americans did not have rights. That is literally what the case is. The case is not anything about like natural-born citizenship status. It's not about any of that shit. It literally is about black people not having rights. That is literally what the case is. That is objectively what the case is. The case was about a man named Dred Scott who was a slave, who was born in the United States, who made the claim that since he was taken into a free state, he was in fact free. But the Supreme Court literally looked at him dead in the eyes and said, "You are black, you do not have rights." Like, literally, it's literally just to make black people not have rights. That's literally what the case is. That is what is confusing. It's just like, they're stupid. Like, that is, I'm short-circuiting because it's just like, that is objectively what the case is. The case is about black people not having rights. And remember, again, these are the people that want to be in power. These are the people that want to be in power. This group, this isn't a fringe GOP group. This is a mainstream GOP group that had Reagan as a member. And Donald Trump and Project 2025 have made it a point that they want to end birthright citizenship. Literally, think about this. This is the slippery slope. Birthright citizenship. They claim natural-born citizens are people who are born in America to two American citizens. If we hold that to account, then literally, if we literally just think about this objectively, that means literally no person in the United States is an eligible citizen to vote. That is what the actual law is. That is what the actual law would say. Because if you are not a citizen when you are born in the United States, then that means you cannot qualify. Like literally, everybody is an immigrant in the United States. Like, quite literally, this just means that only Native Americans, only indigenous people can vote in the American elections then, or serve in American offices, which would be one thing, but it's just like, again, this is literally just going to be used for racism. That's literally all it's going to be used for. You know what, actually, now that I think about it, this video is making me a lot more pumped about Kamala Harris being president now. I'm pumped. We got to stop these fuckers from getting in office. Speaking of stopping, Alaska is trying to stop being cool, with the Alaskan Supreme Court clearing a way for the ranked choice voting amendment that they just had to be repealed on the November ballot. Because apparently, Alaska's had ranked choice voting for a while now. But Alaska, they're trying their damnedest. Like, the Alaskan Republican Party especially is doing their damnedest to try and get rid of it. And that's purely because ever since it has been implemented, it has not really gone in their favor. Now, if you actually analyze the elections, you realize that it has actually gone in their favor because they still have an overwhelming lead. But there's one specific race that has been giving the Alaskan GOP some trouble because of the ranked choice voting system. And that is the Alaska House race. For those who don't know, Alaska has an at-large congressional district, which used to be held by a guy named Don Young, who held the office for a long period of time. Then he died in 2022, which led to a special election, coincidentally, when they got this new system. For those who don't remember how the system works, the system goes like this. Like, originally, the Alaskan system was so fucking weird because Alaska's political system is so fucking weird. The Republican Party basically has a stranglehold over Alaska, with the remaining parties, Alaskan Democrats, Alaskan Libertarians, and a state-only Alaska Party, the Alaskan Independence Party, basically having to control. They basically had to run a primary together because all three of those parties did not work alone, but if they worked together, maybe they could actually do something. They didn't actually have an alliance or anything. They literally just had a primary where I still don't even know how it works. Sometimes they will have both the Libertarian and the Democrat move on to the next round. Sometimes they'll have a completely different Libertarian Party nominee. I don't know. I still don't know how this works 100%. But this way, they made it a bit more streamlined. So here's what happened. So the new system goes like this. Every single candidate, regardless of their political affiliation, runs on one jungle primary. Everybody goes together. Then, the top 4 vote getters, regardless of political affiliation, move on to the general election. And in that general election, they have a ranked choice voting system. In the first round, you can vote for one of the 4 candidates, or you can write someone in. Then after that, they eliminate the write-ins, and they count people voting on the candidates. Then, as ranked choice voting does, the one with the lowest votes gets eliminated, their second choice gets chosen, then so on and so forth until someone wins. And ever since its implementation, everybody's been trying their best to try and stop this from even remotely happening. The Alaskan Republicans tried their best to prevent this from being implemented at least until after the special election, but that didn't pan out. They've tried, and they're trying, again, as I've said before, they're trying to repeal it. But also in the elections, they've literally tried to sabotage it every step of the way. The first time this happened, the first 4 vote getters for the Alaskan special election were Democrat Mary Sadler Paltola, and 2 Republicans, Sarah Palin and Nick Bekich III, and last, a independent candidate named Al Gross, who was the de facto Democratic nominee for Senate in the last cycle. Now, those 4 were the ones that went in, and it generally makes sense just given how Alaskan politics works, that those 4 will be the ones that end up getting together. Sure, if all the Democrats can unite together under one candidate, then that makes sense. Republicans are overrepresented, so of course they'd have multiple candidates, and the last one is probably just for literally whoever else. It could be a Libertarian one day, it could be an Independent another day, whatever. But then, during the election, magically, for no reason whatsoever, Al Gross randomly decides to suspend his bid and decides to, he literally just says, I don't want to run anymore. I don't know why, but literally for some reason, Al Gross just decides to not run anymore. And he made the decision that he would support 2 candidates in the election. After he dropped out, he said that it would be best for Alaskans to be represented by either Mary Sadler Paltola or a different candidate by the name of Tara Sweeney. 2 indigenous Alaskans believing that they would be better representative than him. Now, Alaska actually is prepared for a situation like this. You see, the process was that once he leaves, then the next candidate would go up, which would be Tara Sweeney. She was the candidate right underneath them. She was 5th place. So then, she would then move up. And she would be part of the 4-person race. But then, that was a bit of a problem. They actually did not allow her to move on because Al Gross withdrew too late for that to happen. Tara Sweeney did run as a write-in candidate in the general election, but ultimately, again, they just decided it just didn't really matter that much, to be honest. It would essentially be a three-way race between Paltola, Palin, and Bekich, which kind of threw the race for an extreme loop. And I think during the race, Palin actually tried to get Bekich to drop out just so it could be a 2-person race. But ultimately, the race went as scheduled, and sure enough, things seemed to be basically how you'd expect. All the write-in votes that were there went to very small amounts to the other candidates, and then when the race ended up actually going on, there was a sizable amount of the people who were voting for Bekich that just were, I don't know why, for one reason or another, they just were invalidated votes. Then a decent number of them went to Sarah Palin. And then there was also a decent number of them that went to Mary Peltola, which makes sense if you actually know anything about any of these candidates. Now, Nick Begich is a part of a centrist Republican family. Like, he's part of a prominent political family that has nominated both Democrats and Republicans in the state of Alaska. And they both remain relatively close to the center, like very, very close to the center. Like, moderate Republicans, conservative Democrats, that kind of stuff. With it even going so far as to say that Palin might have actually spoiled the election for Begich due to the fact that she was a more, mainstream candidate, a bigger name candidate, that she basically ended up getting, swallowing enough GOP support in the first round that any support she gets in the, because again, Begich was a moderate candidate, so ideally, there were some people who voted who wanted Palin next, and there were some people who wanted Peltola next. And ultimately, with this way this race was skewed, Peltola ended up sneaking by with little over 50% of the vote, 51% of the vote. And then, what ended up happening next was a little bit interesting, because this was, again, just the special election. There was going to be a regularly scheduled election that would happen as well. And a very similar situation happened. Peltola, Palin, and Begich ran and made it to the next round. But this time, the fourth person was going to be Sweeney. But Sweeney decided that it was actually in her best interest after seeing how her performance was in the original election, because she tried to do a write-in bid and didn't really work out. So she's just I don't really see this really working out so well. So she dropped out. Sweeney is a Republican, by the way, I should mention that, which ties into the theory. Okay. But what ended up happening is that this time it actually worked out, because she actually withdrew before the deadline. So the fourth place finisher, a Libertarian candidate, managed to make it into the runoff. And basically, relatively the same thing happened. All the write-ins in the effectively round 0 were moved. Then all of the Libertarian people were moved to other candidates. Relatively split. He's actually relatively split amongst the 3 candidates. Then relatively the same amount of people for Begich voted for the other 2 guys. And the thing is, what's interesting is that Peltola actually was basically guaranteed to win, because she got 55% of the vote in the runoff when all the votes were tabulated. So if you actually want to be technical, there was a chance that she didn't even really need the votes at all. But now, we're entering the third race where this is going on, and relatively the same things are happening again. Peltola and Begich are running again, but this time, they have new people that were running. Now, what was happening is that the other people that were running were there were some independents that were running, nobody really gave a shit about them. Alaskan independence candidate was a guy by the name of John Howe. There were 3 other Republicans that ran: Gerald Hikes, Matthew Salisbury. There was even a person who ran as a no labels candidate, Richard Grayson, who was really running as a way to say fuck you to no labels. But what was interesting is that the Lieutenant Governor of Alaska, Nancy Dahlstrom, was also running. Now, this one was very interesting because there was actually a little bit of interesting. They didn't really know what to do next for the Republicans. Begich ended up getting support from Mike Lee, Byron Donalds, Vivek Ramaswamy, and the House Freedom Fund. Meanwhile, Dahlstrom was supported by the governor of Alaska, Mulvaney, Mike Johnson, the Congressional Leadership Fund, and even Donald Trump. And Peltola even got an interesting endorsement because she actually got the endorsement of Lisa Murkowski. And when the election ended up happening, most of the votes kind of came out relatively how you'd expect. Peltola ended up winning. She actually got 50% of the votes in the initial round, which is very interesting because her vote totals just keep going up. And then we have Begich coming in second. Then we have Nancy Dahlstrom coming in third. And then that's where things get a little bit interesting. Because, Alaska, they haven't really certified who's going to be number 4 yet. They're still waiting on some votes to determine who's going to be the number 4. Because there are 2 candidates that were underneath them that were fighting for the number 4 spot. The current frontrunner for number 4 was Matthew Salisbury, the Republican, but John Howe of the Independence Party, which is a far-right paleocon, again, Independence Party for Alaska, they were running as well. But then, in a shock of all shocks, Nancy Dahlstrom, out of nowhere, just decided to drop out. She hasn't made an official endorsement yet, but it seems that she's effectively trying to, again, clear the path for Begich. But I guess she doesn't understand how the fucking results work, because she dropped out way before the deadline. But maybe this won't matter, because let's look at the vote totals of these candidates. Okay, so Peltola got 48,590 votes. Bekich got 26,002 votes. Dahlstrom got 19,256 votes. Meanwhile, the next person, Salisbury, got 602 votes. And Howe got 547 votes. So, it seems like maybe she's literally just betting on the idea that there will be no other big candidate running. It will literally be Peltola and Bekich versus two nobodies. And Bekich is more palatable, so maybe, just maybe, they'll be able to do something. But yeah, all she's just trying to do is sabotage this election. Speaking of electoral sabotage, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has officially dropped out of the presidential election and has made it officially known that he is going to be endorsing Donald John Trump. Now, this has been expected for basically the entire week. And I think it started because RFK Jr., he basically announced like, hey, I was trying to call Kamala Harris about a job in her administration, and she told me no. And then Nicole Shanahan, the like millionaire who threw away a ton of her money to support Kennedy's bid, basically just said like, we have two options. One, we could support Trump, or we could continue the race and build a third party. And as they show time and time again, they don't give a fuck. Like, that's the thing with a lot of like third party people. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. Like, I mean, give credit to some of the people in like the third party sphere. Like, give credit to some of them. Like, they're at the very least like true believers to an extent. But like, this whole bid, like, I don't understand. This is truly like the biggest perplexing thing of anything. In the most genuine sense, I mean, I guess I can just point blank say it, because it's like, the truth of the matter is, this whole thing was a sham. This whole thing was a sham and a scam. This whole thing was a joke and was all self-serving nonsense. And I fail to understand how there are even remotely any people who were actually genuinely interested in RFK Jr.'s bid. In the most genuine... I need to see how fucking Nick Brana is now. I need to see how Nick Brana is like fucking like molding now. I need to see this. Or he's probably just gonna go ahead and just jump on the Trump ship, because he's basically been like a fascist up to this point for a while now. But like, for those who don't remember, People's Party chair Nick Brana has essentially been... He's basically been a Kennedy spokesman for a while now. Remember, he tried to like this is just more proof that the People's Party is like fucking like compromised. But anyways, yeah. Wait, let's rewind. Let's start at the beginning. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has decided to drop out. Now, one thing that he has stated is really fucking stupid, which again kind of just shows like general election interference and how he's like clearly like a bot shill and how he had no interest in anything that he actually stood for. Like, he's like, I'm not ending my bid. I am just suspending it. It's like, oh, dude, that is the same thing. That means the exact same thing. You are saying two things. Suspend. It has the word end in it. You fucking idiot. But here's what he means by that. What he means is he's going to withdraw his name from swing state ballots. He said that he's going to withdraw his name from swing state ballots. He's going to keep his name on ballots in states that are safe states. Now, this is weird. Like, is this not illegal? Like, if he's suspending his bid, and like he's not running for president anymore, then what does this mean? Like, does that mean he can't? I know ballot deadlines have passed, but like, is he like going to still try to? If he is still asking for money after this, then that means he's literally like breaking the law, and that'll be a good lawsuit. But this is very clearly what the plan was. This is very clearly the plan. This was very clearly the plan, since I don't know if this is exactly how the plan was supposed to go, but I know for a fact that this is kind of how the plan was supposed to go. Okay, so like, this is clearly what the intention was. Remember, RFK Jr. was only pushed into running in the first place by people like Steve Bannon and Roger Stone. This was the plan. The plan was for RFK Jr. to run the Democratic primary, try to court enough support within the Democratic Party, split off, and try to siphon them away from the Democrats, run this like independent bid, like run it to kind of be like draw them closer into the Republican sphere, and then drop out and endorse Trump. Now, I don't necessarily know, like, I don't know, like, because some people argue like the plan had to have changed at some point in this field. I don't necessarily know if this is all 100% exactly how the plan was supposed to go. This plan could have changed multiple times. Like, maybe the plan was that he was going to run in the Democratic primary and then basically just like endorse Trump after the primary ended, and or draw attention to like foul play within the Democratic primary. I don't necessarily know if like from the get-go they wanted to have him run an independent bid, but the independent bid was probably like a separate part of the plan. Like maybe just to try and get like siphon off Democrat votes to try and get them to like support like RFK Jr. as opposed to Joe Biden or Kamala Harris now. And then it's like, okay, like that, remember, because like Trump said like on Truth Social, that was his thing. Like he was like, this radical leftist fucking Robert F. Kennedy Jr., this dude is fucking crazy. Like this far left guy, he supports the Green New Deal and socialized medicine and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, it's like he, one, doesn't, and two, I've seen this strategy before. That is literally a strategy that Dems have used fucking against Republicans in fucking like in the South Carolina race. They literally did that, where it was like Lindsey Graham and Jamie Harrison were running together, and then it was like, oh, like literally, they're like, oh, well, look at this like guy. He's like super, like Lindsey Graham has been critical of Trump, when in actuality, like this guy is like more hardline pro-Trump. That's crazy. The same thing for RFK Jr. Like, oh, look at this crazy guy. Look at this guy. Don't you perhaps want to vote for him as well? But this is one of the biggest reasons why that failed. Nobody liked RFK Jr. Like, the fact that I saw the fucking John Oliver segment, and I saw like people, like just random people that were just like, yeah, we support RFK Jr. It's like, how do you exist? How the fuck do you exist? How is there a person who literally looks at RFK Jr. and then goes, yeah, I'm gonna vote for that guy? Like, how? How? Like, there is nothing. The dude was literally, like, the dude's campaign was literally all over the place. He was a return to form. Like, I'm just gonna run as like a return to form president with all the partisan divides and like return to normalcy. But I'm also like really anti-establishment. I'm also like super anti-establishment. But also, I love Israel and Zionism and blah blah blah. I love them. But also, again, I'm like this really fringe, like a radical guy. But I'm also like, but I'm not radical. I'm actually like I'm bringing people from across the aisles to work together. His campaign makes no sense. His campaign was nothing. Literally, all I can fathom about RFK Jr. again is just the vaccines. That's all I could fathom people actually looking at him and supporting, because it's the only thing he's consistent on. And I think this is kind of proof that I can't take Cornel West seriously, because again, as I mentioned before, Nick Brana, leader of the Movement for People's Party, he was an RFK Jr. like supporter. He was a guy who was like working to get RFK Jr. on the ballot in a lot of states. He was doing that. Guess whose other presidential bid Nick Brana had a heavy hand in playing in? Cornel West. Remember, Cornel West was going to be the People's Party nominee. Like, clearly, RFK Jr., Cornel West, and Jill Stein, like, I mean, I don't like to do this, but, like, clearly, like, even if they're, like, genuine, which RFK Jr. is not genuine, but even if Cornel West is what I describe delightfully as useful idiot. He's just a useful idiot for them. They're using him to try and be, like, siphon off votes. It's like, that's what, but thankfully, these guys are fucking incompetent and don't know how to run campaigns, and I can't take any of their campaigns seriously. Like, seriously. Like, but literally, this is just so stupid. Like, all we could really do now is wait to see how, like, the fucking, like, anti-establishment, quote-unquote, leftists claim to be. Like Jimmy Dore or Nick Brana or whatever. With all that out of the way, let's move on to the main topic of this video. There is no such thing as an anti-establishment right-winger. That was a short segment. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell so you'll find a future video when it comes out. Oh, I assume that you probably want me to explain that. Nah, I don't think I need to explain. I think it's pretty self-evident. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Okay, fine. Even though I think this is like one of the most abundantly obvious things ever, I guess I should use this time to explain what I mean by the fact that why the statement there is no such thing as an anti-establishment right-winger is objectively fact. First, I guess it's best for us to define what is the establishment, because that's a very big thing that a lot of people probably understand. Like, you might have heard the term the establishment. Like, when you're in politics, you've probably heard the term the establishment, the political establishment, whatever. You know, another term that a lot of like people like to use is the man. Now, it may shock you to understand, but the term the establishment is intentionally vague and not concrete. The term was popularized by Henry Farley in 1955, who was quoted as saying, "By the establishment, I do not mean only the centers of political power, though they are certainly part of it, but rather the whole matrix of official and social relations within which power is exercised." So in layman's terms, the people on top and the mechanisms that put them in place to maintain their like idea in society. Politicians, the rich, and the systems of institutions as they are. And obviously, anti-establishmentarianism would be the opposition to those things. And with that as it is, you kind of got proven. I mean, it's right there. The right can't be that. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share. There's no fucking way that you need me to explain more beyond that. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to go into the bit by bit to explain why that's the case. But first, I think we need to again reiterate something else. I made a video in the past, I made a podcast in the past talking about the history and the definitions of the terms right and left. But I think we'll just do a quick refresher and look over the literal definitions of left-wing and right-wing politics. Left-wing politics is defined as the range of political ideologies that support and seek to achieve social equality and egalitarianism, often in opposed to social hierarchy as a whole or certain social hierarchies. And for the antithesis, right-wing politics is defined as the range of political ideologies that view certain social orders and hierarchies as inevitable, natural, normal, or desirable, typically supporting this position based on natural law, economics, authority, property, religion, biology, or tradition. Okay, now with that seems like pretty blatantly obvious proof that right-wingers cannot be anti-establishment. Because literally, just in the definitions of the ideologies, the right wing is the social hierarchies as they are, based on tradition, religion, biology, tradition, whatever, all that stuff, that's fine. Yeah, that's it. That's literally it. And the left is opposed to that. Let's go bit by bit on a lot of things. First of all, there's one thing I kind of want to point out, this very big thing. Right-wingers cannot be, if right-wingers really wanted to be anti-establishment, they really should just fucking, actually say something anti-establishment. Because whenever a right-winger talks, they literally just love to parrot establishment talking points every day. But you claim it's not. That's one of the things. With all conservative politics, it's just, it's feelings. I feel like the society is oppressing me. Very ironic that they also project this image onto their opponents by claiming that leftists believe that society is oppressing them, ignoring the fact that leftists are pointing out actual oppression. Meanwhile, right-wingers love to do fake oppression. Insert that funny meme of a white woman who puts a target on her head and says "This is how it feels to be a white conservative woman in America," and then someone replies with, "Yeah, that's exactly how it feels, because it's a completely fake target that you put on there yourself and you're pretending is a very serious issue." But yeah, the conservatives and right-wingers, they just love to parrot establishment talking points, but they don't like to openly state that. They don't openly say it because they don't think that. Because the establishment, they're not going to tell you, "Oh yeah, but do what you're told," even though that's what you guys will inevitably end up doing. But you all these things conservatives pretend that they are things they're just objectively not. They like to pretend to themselves "Oh yeah, you see, I'm this independent free thinker. I am, and the left are a bunch of NPCs." Meanwhile, in the most objective sense, conservatives are literally like the biggest fucking sheep I can even imagine. For starters, I guess I should just say this, like shorthanding, like when I say like right winger, conservative, like fascist, whatever, like I mean the same thing. If I ever use any of those terms, I mean them interchangeably because I think they all are inevitably interchangeable. And in the most objective sense, like people in my own fucking audience have actually literally proven that. There's like a fucking conservative like MAGA sheep guy who just keeps following me and commenting on my shit for no fucking reason, and he keeps proving objectively like the Republicans are fascist. He just keeps doing that. The dude literally tried to claim that Giorgia Meloni, who is literally a member of a fascist party, was more similar to Donald Trump than fascism, which literally proves objectively truth that Donald Trump is fascist. If you're trying to say that her and him are similar, then you just prove the fact that they're fascist. But speaking of Donald Trump, yeah, that's one thing. Like, who are the major right wings, like, political figures right now? Like, because this is even, like, even back in the day, like, they would be more open to the idea of, like, being like, oh, I admire, like, Reagan, and, like, I admire blah, blah, blah. I admire, like, this Austrian, like, economist or whatever. But nowadays, it literally just seems like, yeah, they're just all fascist Republicans are all, like, all right-wingers currently right now are just bent to the knee to back Trump. That is literally just what it seems like at this moment. Yeah, you're so anti-establishment that you're, like, bending the knee to literally, like, and it's another thing, like, I mean, I know, like, again, because I get accused of this as well. I get accused of, like, hero worship. I get accused of fucking, like, bending the knee to whoever the fuck, but it's like, I don't. My knee is not bent to anybody. My knee isn't bent to Bernie. My knee is, even the figures that I admire a lot, I don't like uncritically back them without any shred of thought. I have expressed support for many people, and I have expressed disagreements with some of the things that they have said and done in the past, and I will continue to do so. Meanwhile, I would dare any conservative to name anything bad about Donald Trump, and they won't be able to do it. And even, like, in the very rare cases that they might do, they'll, like, name things, and it'll just be like, wait, is that not how is this not enough for you? It's like, oh yeah, well, the Donald Trump, like, when the January 6th insurrection, when they did that, I mean, that was bad. And it's like another one that I know from, like, a personal stuff, but, like, one person will be like, oh yeah, well, when Donald Trump forced those, like, Mexican children to go into cages and be separating them from their families, that was pretty bad. It's like, wait, what? How is that not disqualifying? How the fuck is that not disqualifying? If Bernie Sanders was responsible for fucking, like, taking children away from their parents, I would not be supporting him. What the fuck? How is the... Oh, yeah, by the way, the candidate that conservatives are backing in this election literally is on the record of being, like, a friend and potential customer of a known child sex trafficker. How is that not disqualifying? Huh? But yeah, you're so anti-establishment. You're such free thinkers. You're able to think critically about things. Another thing of the so-called I can think critically while you guys can't is literally just this question. Let me just ask this to any conservative or whatever. Why do you hate socialism/communism? Why? Why do you hate these ideologies? First of all, I need to ask, what do these ideologies mean? Because I guarantee you're going to get it fucking wrong. You guys are not going to understand what socialism or communism is. Because conservatives love to do the thing where it's like, oh, communism is when big government. No, wrong. Try again. Actually, communism in its literal sense means no government. Try again, bucko. Well, I mean, Obama was a socialist. Wrong. Try again, bucko, buckaroo. Not even remotely close. Well, you see, let me just look at my anti-socialist book, 1984. Wrong. Try again, buckaroo. That book was written by a socialist. When you're in this realm where you're like, you can't even define socialism and communism, but you hate it so much. Like, right-wingers, they hate socialism and communism with, like, such a passion, but they just literally cannot define what those terms mean. Why? Because you were told to hate them. Capitalist propaganda is ingrained into you. You can't think for yourselves. You can't think, like, this is stupid, again, because, like, they'll be like, oh yeah, this thing I was taught was wrong, but no, this thing I was taught, that was 100% perfect. That was, like, great. No change whatsoever. Even though, again, you could look at all of the objective truths about communism, socialism, whatever, and you'll see, like, I mean, literally, in the most literal sense, Just read the Communist Manifesto, and I dare you to come to me and be like, here is the specific section of the Communist Manifesto that I do not agree with. Like, I dare you to even remotely do that. Like, you'll cry about, like, oh, schools are teaching children about things like racism and sexism, but when schools literally feed you narrative that fit with the, like, vein of the capitalist rich elite, you literally just, like, you gobble it up. Like, literally, it's just like, today, class, we're going to learn about the fact that slavery was bad. Bro! All right, today, class, we're going to learn about how communism is bad. Why, yes, the U.S. was righteous in stopping the USSR from sending weapons to Cuba pointing at us. Ignore the fact that we literally sent weapons to Turkey to point at them first. Ah, yes, Fidel Castro was an evil, greedy tyrant who ruined Cuba with his evil communistic policies. Ignore all the economic sanctions that we put on them since the beginning of their country, thus not even allowing them the chance to do things. Why, yes, America is the greatest nation in the world and everybody loves us. Ignore literally every single other thing that proves that that is objectively not true. This one always perplexes me. Why do you hate the income tax? Like, this is one thing that perplexes me. Like, and this has kind of like been retrending on Twitter where it's like, you'll see like people and it's like, oh, like it's this recent tweet thread where it's like all of a sudden like all these random accounts, all these random people, all these random like random Joe Schmo like small Twitter accounts of like poor people are literally just like that. Like, I have this very extreme take on like the capital gains tax or whatever. It's like, bruh, you're poor. You are poor. Why do you care about the rich having like a capital gains tax or whatever? Why do you care about the income tax being really high for people of really high incomes? Because the Koch bros spend $195,510,700 to convince you that that was wrong, that they spent all that money to convince you that this thing that would objectively not hurt you in any way will actually harm you in any capacity. Like this far-right libertarian like Ben, where it's like, oh yeah, you see the rich were actually like, they actually were the ones who orchestrated the income tax. It's like, wait, what? How the fuck does that make sense? Rich people are like, yes, please tax us more. What? The same thing for socialized medicine. Why are random poor people in America be like, man, I am so scared of socialized medicine. Man, if there's one thing I hate, it's the ability to go to a doctor when I need to. Rats. Because you're fed propaganda that tells you that, oh, in fact, actually, like, this is bad for you somehow. You not be, like, yeah, I know, bro, like, I know every time you go to the doctor, you're now, like, $15,000 in medical debt. But that not being a thing, that's actually a bad thing for you. Well, that's good enough for me. And then instead of actually thinking about it for 2 seconds and start thinking critically, you're like, oh, yeah. I believe these guys 100%. These guys know what's up. Like, yeah, of course the fucking rich billionaire on a fair and balanced news place, quote unquote, I'm of course talking about Fox, of course they don't like the idea of being treated amongst the same as you dirty commoners, but how is this gonna hurt you in any capacity? And the fucking like lie, because like, oh yeah, well then how come all the rich people from all the other countries come to America to get healthcare? Yeah, it couldn't possibly have to do with the fact that in the United States, if you have more money, you have better access to healthcare. And unlike these other systems, where they treat you based on benefit of care and not based on your pocketbook, it couldn't possibly be that. No. It has to be because those other countries, they're actually bad healthcare systems. I mean, look at all the wait times, man. You mean the wait times that happen in America? What? Again, I don't understand how this is like an argument. How the fuck is that an argument that right-wingers unironically use? Ah, yeah, but like the wait times. You mean like the wait times in America? What? Bro, have you been to an emergency room? That is like literally, objectively, what is like the common joke about ERs that no matter if you get in there and you're like bleeding out, it's like, oh, everybody, we need to like wait like 5 hours before we get seen by a doctor. But somehow it's it's somehow a Canadian healthcare problem, even though, again, Canadians love their healthcare system? What? This one goes out to all my bigoted conservative right-wingers out there. I eat all of them. Why do you hate this random minority group for doing literally nothing? Think about it. Like, why do you hate trans people? They've done nothing to you. What's the problem? Why do you hate black people? Why do conservatives hate black people? Even though they've done nothing to you. Why do you hate immigrants? Even though they've done nothing to you. Because you've been fed a narrative by the rich capitalist elite. And you just buy into it. And you just, without thinking any critically about it, you're just like, yep, I accept this without any thought or credence. This is a tactic that's been used time and time again. Like, don't, like, it's a common meme, again, where it's like a rich guy with 1 million cookies behind him and a cookie on a table with a Latino guy and a white guy on two opposite sides of the corner. And then the rich guy with 1 million cookies turns to the white guy with it and is like, don't let that immigrant come here. He's gonna steal your cookie. It's like, that's what it is. Like back when it was like civil rights, it's like, these black people are gonna try and steal your jobs and steal all your stuff and do blah blah blah. They're gonna do all this. They're gonna do this, that, then whatever. Don't let the women in the workforce. They're gonna do this. They're gonna steal your jobs or whatever. Blah blah blah. Don't let immigrants in here because they're gonna steal your jobs. Or if they want to go extremely racist, they're just gonna go with the whole like, but the bloodline. It's like, who fucking cares? And another thing, it's like with the trans people. It's like, oh yeah, like you hate trans people. Yeah, so does the little richest man in the world. Wow, you're so anti-establishment that you have the exact same perspective as literally the guy who owns a majority of the world's wealth. You got me there, man. You got me there, man. Hey, man, I'm so epically pwned with being proven wrong, even though I was not. Like, what? Even before people come in, like, actually, you listen to the establishment narrative on trans people because doctors say that it's okay, so I win. Wait, you're stupid. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. You're stupid, right? Like, this is another thing that's perplexing me. It's like this is what really is perplexing me. Like, especially with because the COVID thing. Because like, it makes me think of the COVID. Because like, you have like really weird selective like believing and disbelieving. Oh yeah, you believe the American government's like 100% narrative about communism since day one of communism being a thing. You believe that. But then it's like, but these medical professionals who have literally no reason to lie about this thing, like, they're the ones who are wrong. Meanwhile, American government capitalist class, they will blatantly lie to you, and they have every reason to lie to you, and you're just like, yes, I believe you 100%, my lord. Same thing with basically every single conspiracy theory. Like, most right-wing, like, anti-establishment people are just people who believe in, like, conspiracy theory. Like, oh yeah, who really flew the planes at the towers? Is climate change really real? Who killed Kennedy? Do vaccines actually work? And they'll say that and think that somehow proves them wrong. Yeah, you're stupid. Yeah, you pwned me there. You disagree with reputable scientists, but this grainy video that you saw on YouTube, you believe that. What? Again, what? You sure did pwn me, dude. My brain doesn't have holes in it, so it works. But also, again, you have been fed a narrative by the establishment. You'll claim not so, but that is a fact. It is an objective fact that governments and, like, people in charge, they feed misinformation to people to keep you, like, again, it's again so fucking weird. It's projection. Conservatives say that about every single correct thing, but for some reason, when it comes to objectively wrong things, they're like, no, I can't understand that, in fact, actually, it's always projection. It's always projection. It's always projection. I'm getting the realization now, it's always projection. It's always projection. But while conservatives will claim that the government or whoever else is feeding you information about, like, whatever, the COVID vaccine or, like, whatever, like, mainstream thing is now, like, whatever they believe the mainstream narrative is, on that same token, like, they literally will be fed misinformation to literally just believe it 100%. Remember, QAnon and COVID conspiracism was literally manufactured by fucking foreign governments to disseminate misinformation in America. Where do a lot of the newer conspiracies come from? TikTok. You know, the social media app that is literally being banned for its connections to the Chinese Communist Party. And again, random rich people will randomly spread these narratives as well. Like, I mean, I don't understand how it's literally just like, oh yeah, Tucker Carlson believes this, so ergo, it's actually anti-establishment. He's not. He was the top fucking news host in America. How is he an anti-establishment voice? That makes no sense. Another element of, like, so-called anti-establishment is, the conservatives were so anti-establishment. Yeah, meanwhile, you're also overwhelmingly religious. And not just that, in America, you're overwhelmingly Christian. You know, the dominant religion in America. You're so anti-establishment that you literally believe in the exact same belief system that literally has governed America literally since the beginning of its tenure. Literally every American president, except for like 2, have been Christian. I don't know, the jury's still out on those 2. But like, again, yeah, just so anti-establishment. Oh yeah, and like, you believe in the exact same like religion that like 77% of the like United States does. Wow, you're so anti-establishment. You're so like unique and out there. You're so cool. In before the random non-religious conservative pops in. Yeah, and you also believe in the exact same worldview as an evangelical Christian. Yeah, wow. You're so different and so unique. But again, like, how is this anti-establishment? How is this anti-establishment? You're literally just like, yeah. You're literally telling yourself that you bend the knee to the biggest piece of establishment ever. A God. That's what you believe in. You believe that the almighty being is out there and that you pledge your loyalty to him. How is that anti-establishment? And the best part is, no matter what religion you believe in, it always works. If you believe in Buddhism, whatever Buddhism's like main deity is like, you be bad at that. I know that Buddhism is like kind of a bad example because they don't have a deity, but like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You bend the knee. If you're in any religious sense, you bend the knee to the like deity in charge. How can you then go, oh yeah, you see, I'm actually anti-establishment? I've had this discussion before because like there was a person in my Discord server that came in briefly and was like a extremely devout religious like anarchist. It's like, how does this make sense? You're an anarchist, but you also bend the knee to like the biggest piece of establishment ever. How does this make sense? Who are the candidates that the right wing supports right now? Donald Trump. They support Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not anti-establishment by any means. Literally gave permanent tax cuts to the rich during his administration and said, fuck the poor. You know, the thing that literally every United States president has done at one point or another. But yeah, so anti-establishment. He's so outside of the Washington consensus, man. While he claims this like touting of like, oh, you see, I'm actually this true anti, like that's one of the big things this is one thing that's really perplexing. This like fake notion that Trump was anti-war, much of the same way it's the same notion that JFK was anti-war. They're not. Neither of these two were anti-war by any means. Donald Trump maintained the foreign policy of previous administrations. He wanted regime change in Venezuela. He continued the drone war. Increased the drone warfare. He makes this big claim that like, oh, you see, I'm actually anti-NATO. The dude never left NATO when he was president, and all of his anti-NATO talk allegedly really just seemed to only benefit Vladimir Putin. That's all it did. He didn't actually do anything to like make it so that the United States would not be part of NATO. But like, I guess he decreased funding or whatever. I don't know. Like, he didn't do anything about it. And literally, during his administration, one of his hands was on Bibi's cock, the other one was on Salman's. Literally just jerking them off. And I guarantee you, like, he takes off his shoes to like do one for Putin too. Left one on Putin and the right one, left hand on Bibi, right hand on Salman, left foot on Putin and right foot on Modi. Mouth is for Kim Jong-un, and I don't know, I guess this is a very bad analogy. But like he was literally in the exact same, his current foreign policy plank right now is the idea of invading fucking Mexico. He's so anti-war. No, he's not. He is not. He is an isolationist, and an isolationist is not anti-war. Ron Paul was an isolationist, and he literally funded a regime change. Right-wing isolationism is a joke, much like every single other right-wing thing. You cannot do that, because that is not how the system works. The right wing wants the system to stay how it is, or revert the system to a previous state. So you cannot claim that you are going to be like an antithesis of the thing that you are like literally running to uphold and keep in place and like do. A leftist can run as like anti-establishment or whatever because they want to break down the system as it is and they want to build a better one. And in a more literal sense, Trump is a rich guy. How is he anti-establishment? He was friends with the Clintons. He was in the clubs that you claim that you hate so much. The ones that you claim were the establishment. He was part of those clubs. He was friends and a customer of Epstein. Like, he was part of the clubs. He was part of the gang. And you're like, no, you see, he's actually like the real antithesis of this gang. Dude was in the gang. Your ideologies cannot do anything to address any of the issues with the world. Even the issues that you claim to care about, because your worldview literally is perpetuating the system. That is literally what it is. You believe that the social hierarchies are good, so you can't really be an anti-establishment of that. You believe that tradition is good. Tradition is part of the establishment. All conservative ideologies do, all right-wing ideologies do, is continue to perpetuate the bad things, the ills of the world. Claiming that the U.S. gun violence is caused by mental health issues means nothing when you're not going to actually, when your philosophy does not allow you to change how the mental health crisis is. Crying about how we can't give foreign aid to Ukraine when we can be spending it here means nothing when you will not advocate for spending things here. I hear that all the time from right wingers, like, oh, why are we giving foreign aid to Ukraine when we could be spending it here on the troops, on the vets, on the whatever? When literally then you turn around and then you do the exact opposite of that. Since 2014, when we got involved with the Russia-Ukraine conflict, we've given them only $105.2 billion, while Israel has received $310 billion ever since we got involved in their controversy. Name any Republican that is openly opposed to ending funding to Israel. Nope, can't name any. So anti-establishment that you're going to support literally like the de facto establishment position of the world literally since like fucking 1948. Then somehow turn around and say that actually the worldwide position is in favor of Palestine and that being pro-Israel is actually the real maverick position. Bro, the GOP wants to repeal Social Security, Medicare. Like the things that you claim like, oh, we should be spending it on that and not this. And like, we need to spend money on the troops. Do you want to abolish the VA? Again, how are you anti-establishment? What? Literally every aspect of right-wing politics cannot be anti-establishment. It, in the sense, literally cannot be anti-establishment because, again, your ideologies do not address the establishment. And it really stems from one thing. This is how long ago I made this idea in my head. There are old polls on this channel. I might include like links to them somewhere, but they're old polls. And it's literally just like I asked two simple questions. One, are you anti-establishment or pro-establishment? And then I asked like basically, okay, but like, what is your like political leanings as well? Like, I was like, are you like, you know, the four options were like pro-establishment right wing, pro-establishment left wing, anti-establishment left wing, anti-establishment right wing. And then I also asked a different question where I said, are you pro or anti-capitalist? Pro-left, pro-right, anti-left, anti-right. Like, I asked the question, and the results were basically 100% what I expected. Where the numbers, like, if you actually meant what you were, the numbers would have been entirely identical. But there was one big discrepancy that was very obvious. The number of right-wingers who identified as anti-capitalists was very small, and significantly not the same amount of people who identified as anti-establishment right-wingers. Bruh, that is the completest oxymoron I could even remotely fathom. The worldwide economic ideology is capitalism. name me a single right-winger who is opposed to capitalism. Those people on the poll, they might claim, oh yeah, we're anti-capitalist. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. Right-wing economics does not fathom the idea of being anti-capitalist. You're corporate. Like, the closest thing to the claim of anti-capitalist right-wingers is stupid and literally just tries to model itself after Hitler's economic model, which was corporatist, distributist. Those are corporatist models. The ails of society, like the ails of capitalism, it's not even going to go that far. Like, they not only will claim, like, oh yeah, we're not anti-capitalist, but also they're going to claim that all the bad things in the world are actually communism. Or, like, they'll either blame cronyism, like, if they even want to acknowledge that capitalism is at fault, but then they'll also blame communism. Like, literally, a big common trend is, like, literally, like, they'll take, like, literal pictures of America and be like, this is literally communism. It's like, bro, this is Detroit. What do you mean this is communism? This is America. And what I find even more weird is literally, like, this is a fucking weird fact, where random right-wingers on the ground will literally describe their ideal society, and then when they're done describing it, I'm literally just sitting there perplexed. It's just like literally, this is literally what will happen. Like, especially for family members, like, okay, they'll describe, like, their perfect world. Like, okay, it's like, in our perfect world, they won't have to worry about, like, money. They won't have to worry about work. People will be taken care of. We'll like, go to each other. The community will work together. Our needs will be met. Like, the person down the street, we'll work with them and, like, get them what they need, and then they'll help us get what our need. Blah blah blah. Like, they'll do, like, that, and it's like, you literally just described communism. Like, what? You, in the most literal sense, described communism. It's like the fucking Last of Us meme, where literally it's like they had, like, that moment where in the show where they're just like, so you're communist. He's like, no, we're not communists. It's like, no, we literally are. We live on a commune. We don't have money. Our whole model is literally working together without an economic model. Ergo, we are communists. It's like, yeah, what? Like, literally, what? Bro, even the capitalists realize that they're communists, bro. That's crazy. And I guess I should say this even before people comment. I know people will probably already comment that if they even care enough to comment, but I'm pretty sure someone's rebut will be like, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, they're rich people, they donate to Democrats. Yeah. How does that prove me wrong? How does that prove me wrong? But you see, they endorsed the left. No, they did not endorse the leftists. They did not endorse the leftists. You're insane if you even remotely think that. They did not endorse the leftists. The right-wing capitalists endorsed the right-wing capitalists. There's another, again, the MAGA guy who goes in the comments and be like, oh yeah, we need to stop the neoliberal order. It's like, bro, you are the neoliberal order. You're a right-winger. Neoliberalism is right-wing. Your ideological grandfather, Reagan, literally made neoliberalism. What are you talking about? But again, leftism, socialism, communism, whatever, they want to change how the system is. Literally, the established order of the world is a religious, imperialistic, capitalistic one. So you cannot, in good faith, pretend that you are anti-establishment when you want to perpetuate that system as it is. The establishment even at the end of the NLB, like, they don't give a fuck about the religion. They can just get rid of the religion part. They don't care. It doesn't even have to be like that. But they will never give up the capitalism part. Capitalism is what the inevitable worldwide economic model is. They don't care about, like, gay rights or not. If in a world, like, and I know this because this is how it has, like, in a world with gay rights, in a world without gay rights, that world still was capitalist. As long as the profit models and the imperialism stay, they won't care. And the reason, that's why they'll allow isolationists like Marjorie Taylor Greene to come in, because she'll still perpetuate the imperialism. She'll still do it. But heaven forbid someone like Cory Bush, who actually stands up to that, be allowed to take office. Yeah, I know this one was a little bit more rambly, but hopefully the point did get across. Like, yeah, there is no such thing as an anti-establishment right-winger. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell to notify when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, consider supporting me on Patreon.